Okay, so in this video we are talking about the loss procedures, the 5 C's of the loss procedures, namely circle, climb, conserve, cross-check, and communicate. So we will be doing that. I am at Port Columbus, Charlie Mike Hotel, and we are departing eastbound, and we will just keep going on that heading. And at some point I'll let the airplane do what it does. We won't know where we are going, and at some point we will do the 5 C's of the loss procedures and try to locate our position and find out where we are. So I've zoomed in quite a lot so that we cannot figure out where we are, so that we cannot cheat. Right, so then when we are doing the loss procedures, ideally the GPS, and especially with the G1000, it makes it really easy to find out where you are, and getting lost is almost impossible nowadays. However, if there's an electric failure and you cannot use the MFD PFD, you are only left with your paper charts. Now you can also carry the iPad and have GPS locating devices available. Still, the traditional way is to use the paper charts, so we will go ahead and try using the old conventional way to do the loss procedures. Now we will be using the VORs to cross-check our position, combined with the pilotage and dead reckoning to A, locate our position, and then B, going to the nearest diversion point because we are lost and we want to get on the ground and then figure out what our flight plan will be. Now, ideally, when you're on your Checkride, you depart on your planned cross-country route, and then at some point the examiner throws you under the hood and they do some unusual attitudes, then take you off the hood, do some maneuvers, get you lost, and then when you know that you are lost, you don't know where you are, they will ask you to locate where you are, do the loss procedure, do a diversion procedure so that you can divert to a nearest uncontrolled airport, and do your landings for the check ride. And once you are done with the landings, then they might let you use the GPS to get back to your home base. But usually when we talk about the loss procedures or the diversion procedures, these 5 C's are the typical ones you would like to use. Okay, so I have been flying for a little while. I changed the headings a few times, and we don't know where we are right now. So we will go ahead and do our loss procedures, starting with the first C, which is to circle. So I will find something to circle over, which is easier to make sure that we are stationary. So right here, I have this small patch of trees. So I'm just going to circle over that. And then another thing we can do is we can climb, just because it helps us see further into the distance. So I'm going to climb, so circle, climb, and I will make sure that I am circling over this patch of trees. And so, yep, I still have that in sight, so that is a good sign. Now the next step for us is going to be to find where we are using the VORs. So I'm going to go to my map and find out what the 2 nearest VORs are. Now the only information I had was that I departed eastbound from CMH. So I'm going to look for the closest VORs to me. So it looks like Appleton VOR is the closest, and another VOR is maybe Zanesville or the Buckeye VOR to our northwest. So I'm going to use the Buckeye VOR. So we will go ahead and tune that in. Okay, so I've already tuned that into my nav. So with the Appleton is 116.7 and 109.8 for the Buckeye VOR. So I'm going to go to my PFD And I'm going to bring up my nav1, which has the Appleton tuned into it. So I will twist the course until the needle is centered with a from indication. So here it looks like the needle centers when we are on the 198 radial from Appleton VOR. So what I will do is I will go on to my map and draw the 200 radial. So here's Appleton, here's 180 and 190 and 200. So from the compass rose, I will draw a straight line joining 200 and I'll extend it. And from the Buckeye VOR, now we will switch to nav2 and then twist it until we are on the from indication from the Buckeye VOR. So it looks like we're on the 153 radial. So I will locate the 153. So I'm going to go to my compass rose and then draw a straight line. Like that. And for the first VOR, I'm on the 200 radial. So I'll go to Appleton. Here's 180, here's 190 and 200. So from the compass rose, I'm going to draw 200. And the point where the two radials intersect is where I should be. So now what I'm going to do is I will look at the visual cues outside and see if it makes sense. So I'm still going to climb to help me see better, but if I look to my east, I should see an airport and a city. And I look to my west, I should see CMH. So still climbing, I'm on the heading off north right now, and coming up on west, I should be able to see CMH and Columbus City, but it might be too far out, so maybe I cannot see it. And that's why altitude is important. So here we'll just keep the turn coming. And maybe on the heading off east, we will be able to see Newark Heath Airport, which is the closest to us. To our south, there's a huge lake, so maybe you can see that. Okay, so approximately on the heading of south, I do see that big lake, so that is good. Then keep the turn coming. On the heading of east. And on the heading of east, I do see an airport right there, so that is what altitude did for us. It made it easier to locate the airport. So I'm just going to go ahead and start heading towards my airport. And while I'm doing that, I will find out how far I am. So it looks like I'm like 8 miles away, and my ground speed is 95 knots. So I'll use my E6B to calculate how long it will take me to get there. And then I will bring up my timer and start the timer and then start heading to my airport. And meanwhile, I will be listening to the AWOS or ASOS, whatever they have, and then finding out what airport they have. Now, if I don't have AFD or any of that with me, the chart supplement, I can just overfly the airfield and look for the numbers on the runway and figure it out that way. Now, it is important to stay at a safe altitude when you're doing that, but this is pretty much what there is to loss procedures. And then let's go ahead and confirm this on our MFD as well, that we are in fact going to the same airport. I'm going to zoom out And yep, looks like we are going to Victor Tango Alpha. So I would call that a success. Divert there, do my landings, and hopefully after that, examiner lets you use the GPS to get back to your base airport. And then the last step is to communicate. So now this step is more only if you don't know where you are. You cannot successfully locate where you are with this technique. So in that case, you can use the nearest approach controller, contact them, or the flight service station frequency, and get help. All right, so I hope that helped. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next one.